So, guys, thank you so much for watching again. So, I have a very interesting guest, guys. Her name is Ashley Kuhnley. So, I'm going to bring her up, guys, and let's have fun. Hi, Ashley. How are you? Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited. Finally, I got you to come here.
Thank you for having me and thank you for working with my schedule.
Yes, I know you're so busy with school. So before I preempt anything, guys, remember we are here to encourage girls pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So I'll let Ashley introduce herself. Introduce yourself, Ashley.
Sure. So, my name is Ashley Kuhnley. I am a first generation transfer student at California State University Northridge. My major is electrical engineering. And I guess I don't really know what else to add to that.
Yes, and tell us, what are you doing right now? What do you hold? Because I know you're the
Oh,
president.
yes.
You
Here
know,
we
you
go.
have so many dual things as a woman. I know.
I am president of CSUN's Tau Beta Pi chapter, our IEEE Eta Kappa Nu chapter. I'm also president and founder of Transfer Student Alliance. I am also leading a group of other student club leaders with our college and our assistant dean to help create a career fair. I I'm a peer mentor for 16 students in STEM. I'm part of the Badge Project, of course, the AIM Squared project. I've done some undergraduate research with AIMS, and currently I'm working on my my graduate school application. So I've got too much on my
Wow,
plate.
wow. Guys, you see, she's in STEM and she is doing all these things. So, before we get to there, the next question I'll ask you is, where do you get this drive? But before I go there, I would like also to take you back 5 years ago, when you were about five. Let's talk about that. I always ask my viewers this because this is very intriguing to me. I want to understand how it all starts with when we are young. I have my story. One of these days, I'll also tell my story. But guys, feel free to ask me how my story was. But I would like to see, how did it start, Ashley? How did you get to where you are right now? Let's go when you were about 5, 7, 8. What's going on in your life right there?
So even when I was pretty young, I always really just had a genuine interest in math and sciences.
Yes.
My family background is, I grew up poor. Excuse me.
That's fine.
And so we didn't have like a lot of things to buy for me to like play around with. I never
Yes.
had that opportunity to like take apart my phone or my VCR or anything like that.
Mm.
And what my dad worked in HVAC for a really long time. So anytime he was working on the house, he would ask
Yes.
if I wanted to help, and I was
Wow.
all about it. So I would say that started maybe when I was like 7 or 8. So similar to Chanda. And then as I got older, maybe in my teens, he would start taking me to work. And I very genuinely like wanted to actually learn about what was going on. I always had to know the why behind the what. Like you couldn't just tell me something was the way that it was. You had to explain to me why that it was that way.
Yes.
And one of the things that my dad did everything around the house, but he would never touch the electrical system ever. He's like, no, I don't do that. And so in
Yes.
my mind, I was like, I'm going to figure out like what it is for why he doesn't want to do it. And that kind of uh, sparked my interest in electrical
Yes.
engineering. And then once I graduated from high school, I kind of also fell into that common pitfall that girls fall into, where I was like, maybe this isn't for me because I don't
Mm.
see anybody else like me that's doing this.
Yes.
Um, and so for almost 10 years, I didn't really do anything,
Mm.
school or STEM or anything like that. I moved to
Yes.
California about 7 years ago, and I was hired by this company called CNG Solar Engineering.
Hmm.
And I originally started answering phones, and
Yes.
they had me start putting together a database of like solar panels, inverters, optimizers, all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to know what the numbers meant. Like they were all labeled ISC, VOC, and So like that curiosity actually pushed me through these ranks. So they promoted me to a PV systems designer, where I was putting together electrical plans for my son's in the background, putting together a electrical plan. So then that pushed me into project management, that pushed me into commercial project management, and then I was
Yes.
eventually a training manager. So my intro to STEM was pretty young, and then I kind of had like this hiatus in the middle. And then when I came to California, it I found I like just happened to come into this job, and that's kind of what helped continue that drive that I kind of forgot about.
Wow, that was interesting. Guys, if you were listening, I picked up very key important things when she was explaining. So there was a conducive environment, number one. There was a parent who was, involved hands-on with doing things, and sometimes he took her to work. And and also that sparked that interest. I also picked up something. She also joined STEM not right away, just like me, girls. Guys, I've always shared how I joined STEM. I did my STEM at a later stage, not in my young grade. You know how people go to right away for engineering early around from high school they go there. I didn't do that, but I went afterwards. So you can join STEM at any stage.
Mm-hmm.
And also we talked about providing that environment where you can where a kid can pursue science. I know we are not all the same, but even if you're not an engineer, you don't have to be a specialist. You can just discuss something. There are new cars that are coming in, new technology. There are scooters outside. You guys, when you go outside, there are scooters that are electrical scooters. And before, there was no scooters. If you remember, these scooters are about how long, Ashley? Maybe 5 years ago. When did this electrical
I don't
scooters?
even know. I don't use them, so I can't say.
I see the young ones using them. Yeah, about I would say less than 10 years. I'm not going to be very exact. But guys, what I'm trying to say is we can discuss and involve our kids in the discussion. And you see these ladies coming here, they are saying something happened during when they were growing. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
So Ashley, what are some of the challenges that you faced from the time you can remember up to now? Sometimes women think they because of the challenges we can't push STEM, because of the challenges we can't join, we can't go to school. So what are some of the challenges that you've had up to today?
Yeah, so I would say when I was younger and actually going through high school, I did um, as much like physics as I could. I only took chemistry because I had to take chemistry, but I even in that class, like it was me and probably my best friend. We were the only women that were in the class, like above the required physics class. So that was a little weird. And that was kind of my first intro to like maybe we don't belong here. My teacher was always really supportive, but it's hard to, especially at that age, like actually absorb some of that support when
Yes.
there's so much visual evidence to the contrary.
Yes.
And so after high school, I ended up drifting from place to place, didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when I got here and I was hired by C&G, I ran into a lot of resistance. So solar is still, at least in California, a very male dominated industry.
Yes.
And I would run into contractors who, even when I was, commercial project manager, putting stuff together, I was working with electrical engineers who were also males, but they were actually the ones who pushed me into electrical engineering more than anything. But
Really?
I would work with contractors and I would tell them like, you can't just do this. Like you have to follow the plans. You have to do this. And I would just get yelled at day in and day out about how like I didn't know what I was doing. And
Yes.
like, just because I was a woman.
Yeah.
And there would be times when I would email customers and I would like never have spoken to them on the phone,
Mhm.
and they would trust me blindly
Yeah.
because I would always use Ash instead of Ashley, and Ash can
Yes.
sometimes be a male name as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
And so when they would finally call and I would talk to them, they would
Uh-huh.
refuse to speak to me because they were like, Ash is a man. I'm like, I can promise you that I am not. um, so like that was another thing that really that pushed against me doing this.
Yes.
But during that time, especially with the support of the electrical engineers that we had, so there were two in particular, Method and Ralph.
Right.
Um, I was always really curious still, even as I was older. So whenever we had systems and they would send back corrections to the plans that I made, I would always ask them like, hey,
Mhm.
why is this way? Like, why do I need to change these numbers here? And
Curiosity.
they would do
Yes.
their best they can. Obviously, like, they're not a professor who's teaching me,
Yes.
fundamentals or anything like that. But so they were the ones who introduced me to like simple things like our KVL and KCLs. And
Yes.
they would always tell me like, you know what, the contractor's not right.
Yeah.
And they would push me into looking deeper into a lot of projects. And I actually originally wanted to do power systems. And
Yes.
when I did a research project over the summers with Ames. It was with a professor or Dr. Asorno, and
Yes.
it was a cool project. It was on solar renewables,
Wow.
and I don't know, it just didn't ring the way that I thought that it would. So I was
Mhm.
kind of concerned because I was like, I thought this was what I was going to do. I've been in solar for 6 years. Like, if this isn't it, what is?
Yes.
And so I was fortunate to be able to get into this biomedical engineering course that we have at CSUN, and
Yes.
that was it. I knew day one, like that
Wow.
was it. So thank you, Professor Valdivinos, wherever you are.
Yes. He's
But
gonna watch it one
since
more.
then, it's since I've actually found my passion, I've come into that confidence that I
Yes.
definitely was missing beforehand. And I've run into a lot less resistance. So even if someone questions what I'm doing in electrical engineering, or, me going to graduate school or anything like that,
Yes.
I can immediately say, you know what, I know exactly what I want to do. If you want
Yes.
to talk about it, let's talk about it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so up until that point, up until last fall, I still was kind of in the weeds with everything. And I took a lot of those comments and that criticism to heart when I really shouldn't have. So yeah.
And one thing they don't understand, that those comments actually even pushes us to learn more, because
Yes.
once I also got some resistance, and just sometimes men, and sometimes it's not really that they understand or they are aware about, there will be women who are also vicious and challenging. Some men, they just don't understand. So sometimes they don't know that actually that pushes us even to do even more.
Oh yeah.
Even
Oh
more.
yeah.
Wow, that was interesting. Guys, again, this is Ashley. She's an electrical engineering. She's still pursuing STEM. She's about to complete her bachelor's, and she's trying to go to graduate school, and she's doing so many things. Listen to this video, go back and see what she has mentioned earlier on. And this is just to see what women can do. And she just also shared with us how she has been going through her journey. So again, the other part actually I didn't really get, so what really drives you to do all this? Because you are just amazing.
Oh man. So I guess part of it is, and this is pretty common just with imposter syndrome and women in general, but like a really big fear of failure.
Yes.
So that's one piece of it. But actually me coming back to school
Uh-huh.
started as soon as I found out that I was pregnant. So
Yes.
I knew that I wanted to do something. I always loved math. At the time I was like, you know what, maybe I'll be a math teacher. And then thinking about dealing with my son, and I was like, you know what, one kid is enough. And then
Yes.
CNG and those engineers helped kind of push me and shape this idea of going into electrical engineering. And so my drive definitely comes from my son.
Yes.
But just like you said, originally those comments
Mm-hmm.
had kind of pushed me back. But once I got into my program,
Yes.
they have been fuel 100%. I'm like, yes,
Exactly.
let's go. I'm
Let's
going to
do
prove to
this.
you that you are not correct. Yeah.
It's true. And there's one gentleman who came on my show. You guys, you can go back and see one of my videos. He said women are so good. He said, actually, I was depending on this lady. That's in engineering. I was depending on this lady when we're working on things. So they are no different from us.
Mhm.
And, that's what I think women, we should have that confidence and say there is no difference between us and the men in terms of thinking and processing things, and also just executing things. And that has been proven. So women, we really need to be encouraged. So Ashley, I have one question that I always ask my viewers. So knowing here where you are in United States, there are so many resources around you, scholarships, everything is there. And that's also just one way of encouraging girls. Guys in United States, let's go for STEM, guys. So knowing that we have so many resources, there are other countries that may not have the resources. Even here in United States, there are certain remote areas. They don't have resources like me and you we had. What would
Mhm.
you say to a girl growing up out there? How can they pursue electrical engineering?
Oh man. So the biggest thing that I can think of when it comes to younger children, especially girls, is to hold on to that curiosity. Like
Mm,
if you have questions, hold on to those questions until you get answers. And
yeah,
if you can't find the person to get the answer, then you can find that answer.
yeah,
So that was a big piece to my journey, is asking the why behind the what and being persistent about it. So if my dad said he didn't know, I didn't stop there. Like I kept asking everybody. And so holding us the curiosity and those questions is a huge piece of finding that passion. And I didn't find it until I was 30, and that's okay. So don't let age be dictate what you end up doing at all. Like, so those two things. Yeah.
wow, great, great, nice. I pursued my engineering, guys, after 35. I'm sorry, but that's when I did it. So, guys, you can enter STEM at any stage. Wow. Thank you so much, Ashley. Would love to have you again so you can share with us how you're going to encourage girls pursue STEM. And I know I'm supposed to still work with you on some projects. Please,
Yes.
anytime you're ready, I'm in as well so we can push STEM further. Thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. So if you have anything you wanted to share, I'll give you a few seconds, feel free to say anything.
Actually, this one goes out to the parents. So I know, especially as a parent, when your kids are younger and they're going through their curious stages, all kids are curious, but sometimes we end up prioritizing like the inconvenience it causes to us versus letting those children explore and handle their curiosity. It's actually, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. He gave this example, and this was when I was pregnant, and it stuck in my head for still. It's been 5 years,
Yes,
and it was when kids are playing with eggs.
yes,
Instinctively, as parents, we run over and we're like, "Oh no, don't break the egg or don't drop the egg," because you have to clean it up and do all this stuff. But to kids,
yes.
it's this cold thing. It has a hard outer shell, and when it cracks open, it's gooey and there's liquid and there's other stuff in it.
And
And
what
it's like they
exactly?
lose that piece. So sometimes as parents, we have to be very careful about what, obviously within reason, they can't be running around with scissors or anything like that. But there's a, there's definitely a lot of children who have, I feel like maybe had their curiosity stifled by parents who are just trying to be proactive, which is totally okay. But now I just bought this telescope for my son because his birthday is on Monday, and we saw
Wow.
Jupiter
I
and
can see. I
Saturn.
wanted to ask you, I'm like, the telescope, because I went to the observatory last weekend. So I was like, the telescope.
Yeah. So, I mean, my son he knows more about space than I do, and he's 4.
Wow.
So, I mean, anytime he asks for something, even if it's adult books or whatever, I mean, he has encyclopedias about space. I know he can't read them, but he knows the pictures. He recognizes some of the bigger words like
Yes.
galaxy, cosmic web. But if I didn't, encourage that curiosity, we would be sticking to, some basic coloring books and, whatever else is on TV. So, I definitely, shout out to the parents, like let them explore, let them keep that curiosity.
Wow. You know what you said? You just said something very important, to let the kids, um, tear apart something when they're curious. If it's a phone, let them open. If they open, I know there's some costs involved, of course. And if you
Right.
hear some of the people that I've discussed on my show, they've mentioned how one guy, opened the VCR, and the father said, "Oh, let's do it. Let's put it together, me and you."
Right.
And they did. He's an engineer today. So it's the same when you talk about that egg. It really, it meant a lot to me, because that's where you see how curious kids are. They want to open something, they want to break the egg, they want
Mhm.
to see what's inside. But most parents will say, no, 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 stop that, don't ever even beat the hands, do not
Right.
ever.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So, we really need to make sure we just let them flow, let them, experience things. Of course, we can, if we think it's going to be damaged, it will cost a lot of money. Try to see if you can dismantle it together with your child, and
Yep.
if it's something you can put back, things like that. Wow, thank you so much. I hope,
Yep.
guys, you really enjoyed, just like I enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed what Ashley was telling us. Thank you so much, Ashley. Hoping to see you soon, and see how you're doing as a STEM person.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate. Guys, that was Ashley. Guys, she has so many things she's doing. She's working on, so many things, leading so many things at school. Remember, one of the videos I also made is how you can be so self-driven. She's so much self-driven. She has so many things she's handling there at CSUN as she is pursuing her career. And that also helps you to enlarge your territory, to enlarge your mind, to enlarge things that you can carry, instead of just sticking to one thing. Our brain grow all the time. So when we engage in so many activities, volunteering, leading some ventures, it's very encouraging that we keep moving in that direction. Wow, thank you so much, Ashley. Hope we can bring her again one more time. Guys, so today we had different flavors. We had energy, we had electrical engineering.